Yeah.
We're good to go?
At this time, I want to call our regular monthly board meeting to order. And I'm Gary Cook, board chair, and we're live streaming again for our second meeting. This is certainly different than what we're used to. Have another empty boardroom. We have classrooms still empty, schools, no kids. This is not what we're used to, and what we want. Of course, the good thing is teachers are still teaching, and kids are still learning, and parents are handling it rather well. And thank you, Dr. Gandy, for central office staff, for all you guys are doing to make this as good a situation as we can. And we'll get through it working together, and everyone working together is what makes a great team. And it's certainly serious. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I heard today this afternoon, there's 33 cases in Randolph County, and I think 3 deaths associated with people in Randolph County. And just hope things will get better soon. I also would like to thank some more people. They're like our unsung heroes. They're not able to work remotely. They're still out on the front line. That's our Kelly Green, our cafeteria staff, child nutrition. They're serving meals each day. Just want to give a little shout out to them. And transportation, Wendy, Marty, their group, they're still out delivering meals and everything. And that's, they're putting themselves out on the line, but we certainly appreciate everything they do. And sometimes thank you is the best word you could, easiest thing you can say. Also, I know we have the warehouse people taking food around to the different schools, and we certainly appreciate everything you guys and everyone's doing as a team. And I also would like to just go around the room and the fellow board members, if you're listening, I want you to know their names: Todd Cutler, Brian Biggs, Sharon Farlow, Fred Burgess, Tracy Bowles. They're here tonight, and they're constantly the concern, calling, keeping up with everything going on, calling our superintendent, calling me, and the concern and just how much they care for this school system. And I just wanted to thank you guys, and you're a great team to work with as well. And I know today our county commissioners, they declared today as a day of prayer in Randolph County. I'd like for you guys to keep our serious situation in your thoughts and prayers as you join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, our superintendent, Dr. Gandy, will share some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Cook, board members. My comments will be brief tonight. This starts the 4th week of school closure for our school system and for the state of North Carolina, and I just want to take a moment to thank all of our students, staff members, parents, and community members, and board members for their patience as my staff and I have worked through the challenges of this time. We have a lot of staff members throughout the system doing a lot of great work, and they're working in some very unusual times. And the thought of teachers working remotely is difficult to think about, as well as it's got to be difficult on them as well, as they're used to being with kids every day, as are principals and other staff members in school. I want to make a couple announcements about some changes that have occurred. We will continue to look towards the end of the school year and the special events that we have at the end of the school year. I want to make the board members and everybody aware that the Teacher of the Year banquet was originally scheduled for May 5 at 6 o'clock p.m. at Pinewood Country Club. We have rescheduled that for June 2nd at 6 o'clock at Pinewood Country Club. I want to thank the staff out at Pinewood for working with us in hopes that we'll be back in school May 18th and we can have that fantastic annual event. Another annual event that we've rescheduled. Originally, the retirement banquet was scheduled for May 12 at 6 o'clock at the ABS Banquet Center. And we have worked with staff at ABS. I want to say a big thank you to them for their flexibility. We have rescheduled that event for June 11, again at 6 o'clock at ABS Banquet Center. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that at some point we'll get back in school and we'll be able to have these special events that we're used to and some other special events that will involve our children as well. So, Mr. Cook, this concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Gaines.
One other thing, Mr. Cook, if I may. I'm going to give every board member, since we usually do this in work session, an updated schedule of events. It's been updated. It also has rearranged the order of the events. These two special, or these two changes are on there as well, and I'll walk a copy down to Mr. Bowles and Mr. Burgess as well.
At this time, I need a motion to approve the May 16, 2020 minutes. I have a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Normally at this time we'd have recognitions, we'd have a room full of students and some staff members. We certainly, like I said before, we missed that. At this time, we had no one to sign up for public comments, so we'll move on. I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we'll move on to the information items. And Dr. Dean.
Okay, Mr. Cook, let me move to mine. We've got a lot of things to cover tonight, and we're going to have individuals kind of coming in and out, doing different parts of the presentation. But first thing I want to cover is the grant around the middle school. It was Melanie Ritchie made me aware of that on March 23. It's a DART Foundation grant, $4,950. She will purchase 11 Chromebooks and 3 document cameras with this money, and I'll bring it to you tonight as information item per board policy 8220. It is $5,000 or less, so I accept this on behalf of the school system. I bring that to you tonight.
Thank you.
And I want to say a big thank you to the DART Foundation, because I think that is at least, if I remember right, the 3rd grant we've received this year. The other 2, if I remember right, the schools that received it bought 12 Chromebooks. So that's a nice little addition to these schools. Okay, board members, at this time I think Kat Barrett will be walking in. We'll be bringing staff members in at different times. She'll be in the back as well. Just want to take some time and just talk about, update us on what has been going on, or update you on what has been going on with the coronavirus crisis and some action. So I'm going to give you a summary at first, and then I'm going to talk through some items, not only from the State Board of Education, but some personnel items as well. Number one, on March 19, we distributed hard copy instructional packets to all students with a drive-in plan. I'm pleased to report that 92.3% of the elementary students and middle school students combined picked up their packets that day, and 92.45% of the high school students picked up their packets. Those packets on March 19 had 3 weeks worth of work. On March 24, 2,045 Chromebooks were distributed to students with a drive-in plan. We distributed those Chromebooks to students based on the results of our Technology Home Access Survey that was posted on the school system webpage on March 16 and March 17. We did receive 13,476 responses. 17.7% of those responses indicated that child did not have a technology device at home, and 17% of the responses indicated that there was no high-speed internet at home. Now, we don't know exactly the overlap, but was very pleased with the response and was somewhat surprised at the low number of who needed a piece of technology device or who needed internet. On the 7th, which is tomorrow, we will be sending out a second round of instructional packets. 3 weeks worth of work will be included in those packets. Some children will get those in regular mail, some kids will get those in electronic mail. We've been able to capitalize on electronic mail because of the technology push we did on March 24. We will continue to monitor it, being very transparent with everybody. We do not have a plan yet for collecting the first packet of materials, and I'll get through that in a minute with some other things from the State Board of Education. Since March 17, we have had feeding sites in operation on school campuses. As of April 3rd, 6 feeding sites were added to the original 4 that opened on March 17. Also, as of April 3rd, 968 breakfast meals and 3,587 lunch meals were served on that day for a total of 4,555 meals. Compare that back to March 17, the first day, the total was 467 breakfast and lunch together, and we have 21 key bus stops that we're taking meals to as well. There's another step in the plan. Multiple communications have been released by my office during the past 3 weeks in the form of 5 telephone messages, March 5, March 14, March 16, March 17, and March 23. In addition, 4 videos to the community with updates about different topics have been released. I've tried to make a plan of, for the first week we did 2 videos in 1 week. We did the Sunday video, which was the 15th, and then we did a video again on the 17th when we started having some of our plans beginning to take hold, and then turned around and did one on the 25th and then one on the 2nd of April. So trying to do what we can to keep information out there without an overload of or a repeat of information. Guidance was provided to principals, staff members, seniors, and senior parents regarding the academic expectations for our seniors for the remainder of 1920 school year through social media and the school system webpage on Thursday night, April 2nd. This guidance was aligned with the decisions made by the State Board of Education on March 27th. Guidance also was provided for principals, staff members, students, and parents for students in grades K-11 through my video on April 2nd, and the information about the seniors was also included on that video on April 2nd. Again, trying to stay aligned with State Board of Education's decisions and actions on the 27th of March. I'll speak to that a little bit more in just a second. Finally, with regard to our staff members, we started with 4 options for the optional teacher workdays on March 16. On March 17, a 5th option, the makeup plan that's noted in absences due to inclement weather, Board Policy 7550, was added. And then on the 18th, the remote work plan was added. So by the 18th, we've gone from 4 options for staff members as far as the optional teacher workdays to 6. On March 29, we did work with the remote work plan and pulled it back a little bit from 8 hours a day to 6 hours a day for non-hourly employees. And then on the 30th, which was last Monday night, we released a memo to all staff members with 3 more leave options for them effective April 1, which I'm going to speak about in just a few minutes. So as of April 1, staff members have 9 options to use on these optional teacher work days. And all the days, as I'll mention in a minute, are optional teacher work days with the exception of the 5 during spring break. So just to kind of lay out where we started back on, I guess it was when we first heard what was going on March 14. There were 4 steps to our plan. One was provision of food, one was safety of students and parents, another one was how we're going to provide instruction, and lastly, what are we going to do to take care of our employees. So when you see that summary, you can see a lot of those pieces in there. We've hit about every one of those pieces. Are we perfect? No. Have we gone without questions? No. Have we gone without people not happy? No. Have we tried hard to take care of all those areas? Absolutely. We worked hard since that afternoon on the 14th. We learned this was coming. We've been very methodical in what we've done. We've tried to put stuff out that we didn't have to retract. We did do some changes last week to, we tweaked 2 things with grading, and I own that. I own that wholeheartedly as superintendent. We tweaked that, and we're going to move forward. So curriculum issues, want to kind of get into that a little bit. The 7th packet will have 3 weeks worth of work. The packet to go out tomorrow. Again, we talked about it electronically or regular mail, depending on the ability of the child to access it electronically or regular mail. Will contain the packet. Every child is getting something in the mail. If they can take the packet electronically, then they're getting their report card. If they need the hard copy packet, which I want to say a big thank you to our principals system-wide and our directors for working together to try to make only the essential things be included in those packets, because the cost of mailing, every child is going to get at least a report card, but if they're getting a hard copy packet, they're getting their report card in that as well. At this point, we're not sure how we'll assess the packets. I'll be upfront and honest with you. I want to be transparent. We don't know yet. We're trying to figure that out because we have some safety issues coming along with these packets now. The safety of what do we do when they come in? How do we get them back? Our original plan was to do round 2 as a drive-in, bring the packets from round 1 in, and then we were just going to deal with how can we interact with these packets without jeopardizing staff. However, things have ramped up in the last couple of weeks so much that we were very leery of even having the drive-in. So we're not sure how we're going to assess it. I will tell you, my best word is very globally. Assessment will look different for the 4th quarter than it will look at any other time, and I'll speak to that in a minute. The state board clearly says there's 5 critical factors. If you satisfy all 5, you can continue to grade kids the way you have all year, at least the K-11. We've talked about seniors are different. But the very first critical factor, I don't think any school system in North Carolina can claim they satisfy that one with the situation out there. Do I believe there's school systems all over North Carolina trying their hardest to do that? Absolutely. Do I believe we're going to get as close as anybody will as far as the state? Absolutely, but I don't know that you can say that, and I'll read that critical factor to you in a minute. We do have a 3rd packet that's scheduled for May 5. We don't really know how that's going to look right now. We don't know how that's going to be. We do not anticipate another mailing. We do not think we have the resources to do another mailing. So we will probably lean heavily on the technology out there at that time. Again, the state board actions, they took a lot of actions on March 27, and our actions on April 2 and April 3, April 2 for seniors and April 3, mainly for K-11, are inclusive of those. Now, I want to take you to this March 27 memo from the State Board of Education. Just point out a couple things. There's some key themes in this, and I have Kat back there, and we're going to be here all night. We're going to answer any question you have. We'll be here as long as the questions need to be answered. Staff's already been made aware of that. We'll be here as long as you have questions, because we want to make sure when we leave tonight that where we are, we're together. Now, can we not be together 3 days from now because things change? Absolutely. Things are changing gradually, or not just gradually, rapidly in many ways. But remote learning, that's what the word is that the state of North Carolina is using for learning away from school, and it's being strongly encouraged. We have not been told by the state that we can stop. You know, I get asked every day, at least once or twice, do you really think we're going back to school? And I'm going to tell you, I'm hoping we're coming back to school. I want us back in school. If anything, I want us to put school back in the lives of these kids. Because if anything, the real picture we've seen of all of this, we knew this, but the picture out there is our staff misses the kids and the kids miss the staff. And school is a part of their lives. So, remote learning can be defined many different ways. Telephone conferences. We have some unbelievable things going on right now between teachers and students. Video conferencing, printed material, which is what we've done with the packets. Online material, learning management systems, which is a great example of learning management is the Canvas system we're using. Now, look on that document. Critical factors. These are the critical factors for remote learning. And I'm going to hit, if you look at these, is accessible by all students for which the learning is intended and is responsive to diverse learning groups. This is the one that I can't sign off on. and neither can Catberry or her staff. We've talked about it to the 27th. We're concerned. We're concerned. We know there's a child out there. There's more than one child out there that this whole situation has not played well. There's a lot of kids that haven't played well, but there's some kids that it hasn't worked well at all for. We know that. So unless you can satisfy all 5 of those critical learning factors, you're going to see on the next page, you can't continue to grade K-11 students, because remember, the state board made a decision on the 27th about seniors. But I'll point out, the state board said, if you can't do all those 5 factors and say you can do them satisfactorily, you can't continue to grade these kids the way they have in the past. Consider the whole child as well as the home learning environment. That's going to be a big issue when we start assessing kids for their work for next quarter. Now let's break down to the next, let's look at the next part of the memo. Grades K-5. There's a lot of parallels between K-5 and 6-11. In both sections, they have the same exact paragraph. Okay? The second, or some of the same exact paragraphs. The second paragraph of both sections. In the event North Carolina Public Schools do not reopen for face-to-face learning after May 15, I'm really not sure. I guess they're talking about, obviously on Saturday, May 16th, we'll know if we're bringing the kids back on Monday. Additional statewide guidance will be forthcoming for final grading. So that's why I meant what I did about some of the communications. We haven't gone to the pass-fail structure that they've already gone to as the state, at state board level for seniors. We're not sure yet. That's why there's not, if you remember the seniors on the video, if you saw the video and if you saw the memo I sent out, it says, if you're passing your third quarter class, call your teacher if you want the packet. I hope a lot of kids want the packet, because I can't imagine a senior missing the second half of senior English, or a senior missing the second half of calculus and headed to college, or going into a workforce and missing the second half of their welding class, whatever it may be. So we hope we'll get response there. But we do know what that meant for seniors. If they were passing on the last day of the third quarter, they're going to get a pass, which is a PC-19 on their transcript at the end of the year. So we get that. But for K-11, we haven't written that story yet because the state hadn't said go. So we're still going to proceed in a way to grade these children. And if look at the first, I guess it's the second paragraph. So there's 3 little paragraphs in each section. Look at that one, the second paragraph under K-5 and 6-11. If the above critical factors are met for remote learning, LEA/charters may assign grades in the format the school already uses for grades, top part K-5, bottom part 6-11. There's your critical factor issue. That's what's going to cause us to assess kids differently between now and May 18. Okay? With these packets. And I'll tell you, don't think teachers don't know how to do this. They'll know what to do with these children. They know. You're getting ready to see, if people didn't give them credit for being some of the most talented professionals in the world, you're getting ready to see it come out now because they know what they're doing, and none of them are backing off of this. So very excited to know that they're involved in this process. Now let's kick down to seniors for a second. Let's get to seniors because that was the big topic last week. What's going to happen with seniors? Seniors, number one, the state board said the minimum number of credits to graduate from a high school in North Carolina is 22. Our board policy 3460, graduation requirements is 28. They took everybody in the state back to 22 credits. Now, some people got all excited about that, but you got to remember something. 22 credits is great, but you still got to have the right 22 credits. So I want to just make a comment. I left here on March 27, and these tables were in a big square. And in here, I'm going to try not to, I don't even want to, you had Nancy Cross, Larry Chappell, you had Beth Davis, Kat Berry, Kathy Waddell, Edwina Ashworth. They were in this room going through every senior transcript in the Randolph County school system. We had 2 checks. We've got to check at school level, we've got to check here. Let's find out who is not in the course they need to graduate. Great credit to our counselors at the high schools. The number system-wide was unbelievably tiny. To have 7 high schools and have the number just so tiny, it was unbelievable. Tells you what the counselors are doing every year in guiding kids through their program of studies. Couple things, other things about the seniors. The emphasis was on students who were not meeting expectations as of March 13. Therein caused the reason for my conversation about the packets 2 ways for seniors. If you're not passing in the 3rd quarter, you get in the packet tomorrow in the mail. We know who you are. We know what course it is. You're getting the packet. We're not going to decide on whether you need it for graduation or not. You're getting it. But that was the reason why there was a different conversation about packets with seniors than on the video and in the memo. Also, here's another piece. Students who made progress in their learning and need recognition of their learning until school closure on March 16. Well, we really say school closed on March 13. There was the reason why the end of the 3rd quarter was pulled to the end to March 13. I did not want 2 quarters hit by these packets. Let's contain the 3rd quarter that the kids finished. We could have had a quarter where we missed 2 weeks of snow in the winter. So that's why we moved it up. You remember a couple weeks ago we moved it up from the 27th to the 13th. But the state board said you need to recognize those kids who were doing great stuff and passing. So we have some plans in place for kids who weren't passing to try to keep hope alive, try to keep them engaged, try to keep from, as their life changed overnight. You know, one of the things I've been watching for probably, I guess it started about midweek that first week when it finally hit me. This is really happening. This has really happened. It just happened in Randolph County, in the Randolph County school system. It happened in every school system in the state and many in the country. Kids' lives got ripped out from under them that day. Yeah, some kids go home and they've got things that other kids don't have. I got it. But every kid's got school. And we need to be making sure we're taking care of these kids, that we did something as a system to make sure there's hope, to make sure these kids take these packets seriously if they need those to get their grades of passing. Another item that was listed to the seniors, there was a big emphasis by the State Board of Education that day on the 27th. Superintendents have weighed in. We tried to give as much feedback as we could. We had some state board members who were on the same page with us. And I'm not saying others weren't, but there were ones that were connected to us from almost immediately. Let's talk about what we're going to do. The first question was, what are we going to do with the seniors? It's not ideal. Fall grades are going to count towards the GPA. Year-long courses, the fall term grade will be counted as a GPA. We're going to we're going to work on that. Spring courses, you're either passing or you need to work on getting to the passing level. You'll get a credit. You will not, the spring course that ended in, or the last day you were in class was on March 13. It will not count towards GPA, it will not count towards class rank. That was item, I think, number 7 on the memo. I understand as a high school principal, I understand that some kids took a lot of honors classes in the fall, and some kids, because of their interests, their AP classes were coming in the spring. I get it. But we have to have a standard somewhere, because you could get equally into the other mix of how do you give A's and B's for halfway through a course. I will tell you, I'm very proud. I dealt with the college board as a high school principal. At one point, we may have very well had the most AP exams given in high school and on the Eastern Seaboard when I was a high school principal. And I'm very proud of the college board for their work with the AP students and their flexibility. And they're reminding us in multiple, early on, they stepped out and said, oh, no. It would have been easy for the college board to say, AP courses are over, do whatever you want for credit, we're not giving exams. Oh, no. They made it very clear that we're after the brightest, and we know how to assess them, and we have a way to contain the security of our tests. So I'm very proud of them and what they've done for our kids. But we went back on the 27th, and we talked about children who were not passing on March 13th. And so the state board put it to us. Said you got to keep going remote learning. Use North Carolina Virtual Public School. Use credit recovery. For our system, it's the Apex system. Kathy Waddell, Nancy Cross, Cat Berry, they know it like the back of their hand. We're ready to go as we need it, if we need it. The locally developed assessment, that's probably the least of the good options, because to me, to do that one, we've got to bring a bunch of teachers together and we've got to put more on them versus get after it with the kids. So we probably won't see that much. Occupational course of studies children, their number of paid work hours was reduced from 225 to 157. Also, another thing that went away for the senior class, this really didn't matter a whole lot to a lot of kids, but there are some it mattered to. The CPR requirement, you have to pass for graduation. If you've been in our system, you probably took care of that in 8th grade. But the children who moved in since then, there's still some children who had not taken care of that because of when they moved in. And think about it this way, you move in and you're past the year of freshman PE. So every school's got their plan for how they take care of those children. Well, that requirement's been waived for the class of 2020. So, with the academic things, one other piece, be real clear on this. Kat and I have been following this. Kat following it very closely with her staff. That's why some of the people are in the roles they're in, because they know how to turn around and react to something like this, and Kat definitely does. The CCP classes, Career and College Promise classes, where our juniors and seniors are taking community college classes or university classes, and it's split. It depends on where you are. I had a lot of kids at my high school went to, it was easier to go to NC State than it was to go to Wake Tech. Wake Tech was on the other side of Raleigh. NC State was 5-6 miles on the street. But we have not had clear guidance yet. I'll give you my best assessment of what I've read. We're waiting for the higher ed partner to tell us what they're going to do. Basically, what I've read is that they can do their class as it was supposed to be done online. They will continue on and grade them like they would have. But there's classes that's not going to be able to be done, like auto mechanics. That's not going to be an option. That's probably one. I've heard the higher ed people talk about that one. If they can't do it, it'll kick back to one of our course codes, and it'll kick back to a pass-fail. Now, I say that to you because I said they're going to grade them like they normally would if they can keep it alive, and we'll have to investigate whether those quality points will count with those seniors in those cases or not. I don't know that answer, and I know that we've got some people involved in these classes, so that's the piece we haven't heard. But my inclination is if the class can continue like it would have, other than being online instead of, and see, some of those were already online. So the class can continue. My inclination is that would be the one time that a senior would get quality points. But I'm not committed to that because we've not seen that yet in writing. And so I'll pause. We're here tonight to make sure that we're all up to speed where we are on several things. I've got several topics I want to cover. I'm going to get into in a minute. I'm going to bring Marty in, and we're going to update you a little bit on the child nutrition, give you some numbers, and then I'm going to work through some staff options, and then conclude with what we're doing with some relief money we've already received. So, are there any questions about any of this so far? We're just trying to keep it as simple and methodical as we can, because it's not just me understanding and Kat understanding it. We have thousands of people who need to understand it. And we're going to, I'll tell you, I've gone back to the last couple of days. I've had some high school seniors email me. I love being a principal. I love being a middle school and high school principal. And just get some of those emails. Hey, we read your memo. Can I ask you a question? You know, we're going to respond to these kids. They deserve our best, and we're going to get responses to them best we can. And they're hurt. Some of these kids are hurt. A lot of them are hurt. They've had a big part of their life taken away from them called public school. And they've lost some of these relationships. because I don't see these kids every day, they're friends. So there's a lot of conversation about academics and social-emotional issues we need to be looking at with these children, and we're going to keep our eyes on that as well. So any questions about the academic piece for Cataract? Okay.
Have all federal and state end-of-year testing been suspended?
Great question, Mr. Cutler. So here's Stephen's interpretation of the testing. And I'm sure somebody will call me tomorrow and say, but I'm watching a long time. We're under the ESSA requirement. We used to be on No Child Left Behind federal requirement. So what that does, it says you have to have certain assessments at different levels of school. Doesn't mean that North Carolina's test is the same as someone else. Doesn't even mean it's called the same thing. Ours are called end of course at the high school level, end of grade, elementary, middle. So the waiver's been sent to DC, but it's come back, ready to go. The legislature has to act on it because it's in the legislation, and it has not been acted on.
That's just federal.
So, well, no, the federal government has supposedly sent it back and said, now you're in a position to waive your testing program at the state level.
Right.
All the federal government says is, you got to have something that resembles this. You got to have these assessments at these levels. So the legislature has got to take some action on that. There's another thing they've got to take action on, which is the reading camp that we have every summer, because that's in legislation. If anything happens with the school calendar, remember the school calendar law says end by now, don't start before now. There are conversations about trying to get the school year started earlier next year, but you can't do that outside the law. Just like we deal with our board policies, you can't get outside the law. So I do not know. I asked that question on a webinar, teleconference, whatever you want to call it, the other day. To my knowledge, there has not been any action on that. My assumption is the legislators must be trying to bring it all together at once. One thing that you can watch in the last couple of years, more stuff in the budget bill has been included. I mean, the budget bill has been bringing more stuff in. And I think that's going to compound some things in a situation like this, because stuff that might not have been in legislation is in legislation, might not have been 10 years ago. And it gets it away from the state board, who can act and go. See, the state board sent that waiver, but my understanding is it's come back and it's got to be acted on. I don't think, now in fairness to legislators, I don't think anybody, I've not heard anybody say, oh yeah, you got to have your testing program this year. I've not heard that anywhere. I believe everybody knows that's a pretty tough thing. But, so we're good there. As we learn that more definitive, we'll let y'all know. Anything else about the academic program?
I got one comment. As a board member and as a parent, I have been impressed with our teachers. I walk in my home, there's virtual, there's teachers on laptop. I mean, they're there, they're teaching, they're sending out emails. I mean, I walk in and we're having science class in the living room. And it's amazing, you know, they're taking it serious. And that's impressive. I mean, every day there's correspondence, every day they're reaching out. And we are in unprecedented times, but I just want to applaud the ones that are going out and making the effort to make it happen. It's impressive. It really is.
Yes, it is. And there are some individuals in some specialized roles that, honestly, when Kat and I we're talking with the directors and just some of the things that specialized roles for kids, I was like, wow, how are we going to do this? And all of a sudden people just gravitated to it and taken off. So, in many ways, this could be one of the finest hours in North Carolina Public Schools. I mean, it's not what anybody wanted, but it's not like school systems are run away from it either. And that's what's exciting to me, is school systems haven't turned and run. And I know one that surely hasn't, that's the Randolph County School System. If anything, dug in.
I think these packets are very important. I've talked to a lot of parents. You know, you send 3 weeks worth of work supposedly, most of these kids are doing it 3 or 4 or 5 days. And they're looking forward, because you know, everybody says, well, great vacation, but you know, all these kids I talk to, they are bored to death. And they're ready to get back to school.
I just thought of something else. This hypothetical, what if? You know, this remote learning is definitely going to be something that I think is going to happen sometime down the line. How many Chromebooks will we need to give our students, every one of them? Taking away what we have now.
You mean to be one-to-one system-wise? I don't know, we were getting up there. We had got, I think the last number I saw was 10,900 when we did the technology thing. And I'll speak to that just a second. I know there'll be people one day who'll say, you know, one of the things that where we were, I agree, our funding and technology is not where it needs to be. You've heard me say that. But where we are in our resources and what Dale Brinkley and Sheena Creech and Ann York before then did, we maximized our dollars. And one day somebody will say, yeah, Gainey, you got us up to, your staff got us to 10,900, you sent 2,000 out the door. Well, my response to all of that is going to be, and always will be, we don't get budgets to sit and look at. We get budgets to spend on kids. We've done a lot trying to, Mr. Burgess, I think you and I were talking the other night, our staff has responded system-wide to, let's think about the copies we're making and what we're doing with them. Is there better ways? And we were, I mean, the progress that was being made this year on that was tremendous. And so, yes, the last 2 packets, Mr. Bowles, yeah, one side of me said, wow, there went a lot of progress we made. We're going to use some money, and I'm going to tell you about in a minute and talk to you more about to cover that. But there again, if we're going to spend this money, who better to spend it on than on these kids? You know, yes, you know, to get your answer is probably 15,778 or something like that. I can't remember what our locked-in number was. But you really can't just go to 1 per kid because you have staff. And the thing is, if we can ever get there, and I still think there's a day where there's a grant out there that grabs hold of the Randolph County school system and says, you know, just like one I'm going to share with you a little later, a cat is, the 100 that came from Logan. You know, if you ever can get there, you've got to have a bigger plan than just one for everybody. You got to have enough, you got to have a plan to refresh. Like when I was a high school principal, I took 20 laptops from my staff. I had a staff of 200, 160 teachers. And every year I took 20 out of circulation and put them in the library for kids to use, because I couldn't afford to replace every teacher had a laptop. I could not afford to replace all 160 again. Drink machine money did it when I was assistant principal. We had a good run at that. But once we got going, we had to have a refresh plan. And every year we'd have teachers say, mine's okay, don't take mine. No, if I leave you with that one, then we're going to get the year we need 40, and we might not be able to afford it, but 30. So we'll have to have a refresh plan to get there. So,
How long would a Chromebook, would they be 5 years before you have to do anything?
we go on 3-year warranties, and after 3 years, you're on borrowed time. You can get some stuff. But here's the deal: when they come off the, once they kind of get beyond that window, if you could find the part, you probably couldn't afford it because it'd be so rare, you know. But I want to say it's 3-year warranty. It's 3 or 5. Dale and Sheena would be happy with me because they keep me updated on this stuff. I want to say it's 3-year warranty. After that, we can get a couple more years. Our staff do a really good job with this stuff, but.
The sad thing is we still have so many students that don't have internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like we can send one home with every single student. That would be the dream.
Well, a parent told me Friday morning, Ms. Farlow, I was on the phone with a parent, and I didn't know I was trying to figure out where we were going with the call, but she said, it's not about the computer, because I'm not going to get internet access where I live, you know. She said, it's just, she said where she lives, there won't be internet access. She said, my driveway goes so far back off the road, and She said, I love my home, you know, and and she said, I mean, we're just not gonna get, and you know, a lot of people tell you cable TV, what was in some places well long before it was in other places, you know. We didn't get it till somewhere in the 80s where I grew up, and, you know, other people had it for years in other
There's
places.
a lot of when our county.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions on this? But I echo what you said, Mr. Biggs, and I'm impressed. I had a parent on the phone today, and she was telling me, a child at one school was concerned about that child and progress being made, and was referencing the other school about how encouraging the teachers had been with the child. They weren't being critical of the one school, but the conversation started with, my child's struggling with this. Even though we're struggling, we understand, and then it's over here. And you ought to know how welcoming and how supportive the teachers have been every time they call, or every time they reach out. So we're going to find a lot of new ways to get in touch with kids now. That's going to be, I think a lot of things it's going to help down the road as teachers learn new skills or refine skills.
I think we figured out that teachers really miss their kids and parents are ready to give them back.
If nothing else,
That's
we
it.
appreciate it more.
Appreciate it more, you hear that a lot.
I do want to take a moment. There comes a time, one of the things I told leadership today, leadership team does a tremendous job of keeping me in the loop, and we try not to say, okay, Kat, you can't run without coming by and talking to me. Marty, you can't. That isn't a way to run an organization. But I do want to say a big thank you to Kat, as we bring in other ones in a little while. The creativity has just been tremendous about, we're going to get this done. And sometimes in spite of the superintendent waking up one morning and saying, hey, can we adjust this a little bit? Kat smiles and says, yeah, we can get it done. And so thank you, Kat. Thank you to your staff, because we've had a lot of late nights out here. There's been a lot of things going on in that room across there, making plans for kids. So. Kat, do you have anything you want to add?
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Kat, would you send Todd in?
Yes, sir.
No, send Marty in next. We're gonna do food next. Sheen, is everything working?
Yep.
Elizabeth, you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, and to the public, our attorney is.
Don't forget it.
Huh?
That I'm still here. Y'all don't forget that.
Oh, we're not. We wouldn't do that, Elizabeth.
I'm just teasing.
So I mentioned in my earlier comments, Marty has walked in. We are up to 10 feeding sites. I had a Randall Middle one day last week. We've 21 key bus stops. Tim Moody, and I'm sure Marty had, knowing Marty's worked with numbers as well. Tim Moody told me today we had served over 45,000 meals, or is it 40,000 so far?
50,760.
Okay, 50,000. So Tim and all, we're off today. We do, one of the things that's been transparent with people, I guess it was the 27th, we put an announcement out that we will be closing down for spring break. Staff involved, Mr. Cook talked about, we've got transportation staff members involved. We've had child nutrition staff members involved, warehouse staff members involved, delivering food to these stops and all. And we are going to shut down for spring break. I want to say a big thank you to Kelly Green. Kelly has made a pretty smooth transition to this role. But the other day I was doing something, I ran across the board meeting, we brought Kelly in to be the director, and I think her first day was March 1 last year. So as I talked to the principals a lot, you can be a principal for 20 years and never see something that a principal may see in their first 5 months. And I've talked to several principals in their early years of, you're no different than anybody else. No one's dealt with this before. So Kelly has dealt with it very gracefully as a professional, and Marty, anything you want to add to the feeding piece? We're going to keep rolling, doing the best we can with this, taking care of individuals. But we've been just getting after it since the second day, right? We didn't do it the first day, the 16th, but it's been ramping up. Started with the 4 feeding sites. We are anticipating some more relief money coming, which will hopefully help. We're anticipating, no guarantee, but we are participating based on comments that have been made that there'll be some federal money coming too. So hopefully that will be a reality. So because you remember the child nutrition is a self-supporting enterprise program, so it funds off itself. So, and we are missing local sales right now, which will make a dent over time without it, because not having school, the a la carte sales and stuff. So we'll be mindful of that as we move forward. And I'll mention that a little bit in a few minutes. So.
Do you have an idea on, like, the breakdown of roughly how many breakfasts are served or lunches? Or do they become,
What's your, that's what I was saying, what's your least?
any idea?
Breakfast is today, through today was 11,301. And then
So lunch is like 39,000?
39,000.
So it's a lot, big difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have a breakdown on how many being served at each site?
Yes.
What's
I don't have it with me, but.
Well, I mean, I'm interested in what's your least site used?
Well, it's hard to tell because like last Monday we added round in the middle. So those numbers are obviously the lowest right now.
How do you do it? Weekly, daily?
Daily. We run it daily.
Man, I'd be curious.
Probably that site has shown the least participation, the last one. But what it did was helped us get some numbers off of Brownman Elementary, pull it to the middle school, and then from there we were able to get closer up to Archdale and make some deliveries and things like that with buses. So it's helped a little bit in different areas, but not necessarily the number of meals we serve.
Marty, have you heard of anybody from the sheriff's department that is delivering to homes?
Yes.
They are?
And thanks for bringing Mr. Cutler. The Sheriff's Department has been a tremendous help during all this, and I mentioned the groups. Sheriff Seabolt was pretty. I mean, he mentioned it right off the bat when we were at the first meeting on March 16th, right across the room in front of many community members. If we needed his help, let us know. And they really engaged really quick with us, and it's been a big help.
Dr. Gainey or Marty, what is usually given out for breakfast? Do you know?
It's a warm meal like they would have at school, pretty much. I don't know all the requirements, Mr. Cutler. It could be a chicken biscuit, it could be, it's not a Pop-Tart and a shelf-stable meal, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, one day during the week, it could be that, but it's not that 5 days a week. They do muffins, I know that they
I
make.
think
Fruit.
they offer fresh fruit
Yeah,
for breakfast.
variety.
Lunch is a bigger deal.
What's like the average lunch, like a piece of pizza or something like that?
We've got meat,
It varies too. I
fresh
mean, it's the meat, it's the
onion.
fruit, the vegetable, the milk, so it's a full meal as well.
Yeah.
They usually get one of those white clamshell, which like take out, and then they also get a bag, which may include the fruit or the milk or the juice, whichever they're having that day.
Just as good.
Thank you.
All right, y'all ready to move on to employees? Okay, the next,
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I have a question
Okay.
about the food service. I was thinking this week, about our food service program. We are exposing our employees to 50,000 servings, as you know. But at the same time, and we all know that there's been some school systems in our state who've had employees who have gotten the virus. and through this method of the food serving program. Have we thought about reducing the locations? The whole point is just trying to reduce the exposure of our employees and also having just one serving a day, serving from 11 to 1, to where they would pick up their bag lunch for lunch, and they would also get items that could be used for breakfast the following morning. And that way, they're not having to come to a location twice during the day, and it'll also reduce our exposure of employees being around these people. I mean, is that something we could consider or think about, or is it even possible?
I talked to Kelly about, as we send out lunches, especially on the bus routes and the sheriff's department, why don't we go ahead and send out breakfast items too? Those would have to be shelf-stable items, and really with the demand on it across the state and really across the nation, because a lot of states are doing the feeding programs, they just can't get all the items that they would like to get and be able to get. So they're afraid that they'll be short, some days without a breakfast at all. So they continue to try to cook the meals. Now so far that type of food has not been as in great a demand as the prepackaged items.
Right.
But certainly, if that's something we need to look at, we can talk about it further.
I mean, I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of employee exposure. And, you're looking at only a quarter are, coming for the breakfast. And could we just give them some items, to carry over to the next morning? And also, with people being out of work, they won't have to drive as much, to save some money there. Just a thought, I mean, maybe just think outside the box a little bit. I know some school systems in our state are only doing one meal a day. They're not doing both breakfast and lunch. Just something for y'all to keep around and see if that will work for our school system and for our students.
I mean, that's what my question was leading up, was the police serving sites. I mean, if it's not a lot of participation, is it worth exposing our employees? We can move it somewhere else, and if these people really want these meals that bad, they can travel 2 or 3 miles to get it.
Well, go back to just maybe 6 spots, feeding spots. I mean, looking at Trinity Elementary, Liberty Elementary, Ramseur Elementary, Southmont, Tabernacle, there was one more, Random Elementary. Yeah, Liberty, I said Liberty. And have just 6 spots, forget about the bus stuff, but just have those places open. Because you got Archdale and Trinity, I mean, they're so close together. You got Random Middle and Random Elementary, they're pretty close together. And I know why you're doing that now. Yeah. Southmont and Seagrove are pretty close together. I think my big thing is if we can reduce it down to that, having, parents come get those meals once a day, that's a big time reduction in exposure for our employees.
That's my question. I know our employees will do what they got to do for the kids. I mean, this is a question, we had some employees come up with concerns about this. I mean, to me, we need to treat our employees fairly across the board. Teachers, they're remote educating from home and stuff. I mean, and we had, our cafeteria workers, I'm doing my job and I'm worried about doing my job.
Right.
That's only fair across the board. If they got concerns, we need to address those concerns. I know we got great employees, a lot of them go out and do what they have to do and won't think twice about it. But we also got to be fair to the ones who might have a little worry there. We got to.
Well, you got to start, we're going to go away from the package distribution. you know, at the schools. And that's a one-time distribution, but still, we're doing the lunch thing twice a day, every day. So, you know, let's try to, you know, be more concerning about the employees' health during this situation. But I know at the same time, you know, we still got to provide the students with these meals, but, you know, let's just maybe think if there's some other options. That's all.
Maybe after spring break when we come back, that's something they can start looking at, and, you know, whatever, if we changed anything, we could give the people maybe a notice if something changes, a fair notice, if we, you know, if you guys look at something different.
So what I'm hearing from the board is, the direction from the board is they would like staff for us to consider reducing feeding sites and reducing, so that's the direction coming from the board that they'd like us to explore in the coming weeks. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think if you think if it's practical, I mean, I don't want to.
I'd like to see the numbers.
Most people are gonna get in their car if it's only a couple minutes to go get a meal.
But I mean,
A lot of them are not gonna drive 15 minutes to pick up a lunch.
absolutely, I think you need to look at the numbers and make sure what you're, now,
Well,
as
that's
far
when
as,
we- that's when we started with the 4 originals.
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
From there, we added 5, and then we added the other one. Brandon Elementary was getting so large that we were needing more than 10 employees in that
Oh,
kitchen.
I'm sure.
So that was part of the issue too. We didn't want more than 10 individuals in that kitchen at any time.
Right.
So we opened up the Round the Middle site to help alleviate part of that. Going back to your point, Mr. Bowles, certainly any role that we've got out there that's working, whether it be school nutrition or bus, it's been all voluntary, and if they are uncomfortable, they're certainly welcome to not continue in those particular roles. And Dr. Gaines is going to share with you in a minute a piece that now helps those individuals. But yes, honestly, we've had an occasion or two people come up and say, you know, I've been around somebody, or, you know, I've got a little sniffle today, I think I need to stay out. And certainly we encourage that, and just, that's it. So.
And to Marty's point, so Friday was the 3rd of April, so the 27th, the last conversation we had that afternoon was, you know, there's all this, identify people as essential or mandatory. And you know, I believe all our employees are essential. So I chose, in talking to our attorneys, Elizabeth, you remember that conversation I had with you, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
I did not want to go there because I didn't want to send another message to employees. So Marty and I had a very frank conversation about our game plan was going to be, if we got to where you, like you're saying, you had a child nutrition person wasn't comfortable, move to the next person, move to the next person. You know, we might run out of the next person, and that might cause us to have to shut some sites down, because as Marty's talking about, we don't need kitchens too full of people. Same thing with the transportation staff. If somebody starts getting uncomfortable, go to the next person. We run out of the next person, but there comes a bus that can't roll. But what I didn't want to do in any of this is send any kind of message to anybody that they weren't essential, they weren't valued by this essential, non-essential, or I think I've heard mandatory, non-mandatory. Because when you start using those words, I think you get a lot of other byproducts. So we've been watching that. We'll be mindful. Because as you say, Mr. Cutler, you're right. Think about the continuum we've gone on. Would I rather tomorrow have been another drive-in day? Absolutely. I would have rather, I'd have rather that been that, and given everybody another hard copy packet. But as I think Ms. Farlow, you and I traded an email last night or one day this weekend, the way things have changed and ramped up the last couple of days. I was talking to a principal the other day, and this principal said, you know, the only way I think we could do the drive-in is if we took a table the length of these, and I got on one end and the person got no closer at the other end, and I slid it down to them. And how, you know, it might be that difficult because you may have employees who are that worried about being involved based on what's happened the last 2 weeks. So your point's well taken, all of your points well taken, and we'll continue to look at that. You're right, Mr. Cook, we've got a natural break coming, and we want to do the best we can to take care of people, but there are limits to what we can do, and we haven't got to the point of just start losing the staff to say, I'm not comfortable, but they're well within their right if they feel that way. We'll have to honor that.
You guys are addressing some issues that's out there to try to take care of it too.
Safety.
I know some of the people are
I
close.
mean, that's the biggest thing I like to see. I don't want to see, 6 months down the road, individual employees, well, I had to work through this, I had to do this, the other ones didn't have to do that. But, listen to y'all, it's pretty much voluntary.
I think that's what makes
So
it-
that makes me feel better. I mean, I want, our certified and classified treated the same. And if they're volunteering, that just makes me feel good that we have people doing volunteer and they're being treated equal.
And I've heard none of those people complain at all,
And
not one soul.
No, I haven't. I mean, I've talked to some of them, but I hadn't, but yourself, Mr. Cook, when it's all said and done.
I'm just
Story
impressed
will be-
that they have it.
story
I mean,
will
it shows
change.
a lot.
I know.
Shows a
I
lot.
think they're-
And we've got staff that are ready to step in if a slot comes open, so we've still got room.
Yes.
That's the goal.
And Marty, all of our sites are drive and pick something up. They're not going in our building, right?
That's
Because I
right.
know some counties are still letting people come in
Yeah, I mean,
to cafeterias, but we're not, right? Okay. I didn't
that
know.
was that very first week, because I went out south on the first week, and somewhere else I visited, and they were down the sidewalk, away from the building, and the cars came by, so they started out by having that separation. But your point's right on, Mr. Wolves, and we might get to the point of, then there may not be a next person, and that may start pulling it back into as well.
See, I guess the thing that kind of stuck with me a little bit, and we talked about it, we'll address it. It'll all work out, but, we're mailing the packets out, and people are still passing the food out at sites and all, so I definitely, if we're mailing the packets out, I definitely want to make sure those people handing the food out are just procured the best we can, because I don't want to put, if we're afraid to, somebody to hand packets out, I worry about people handing food out.
And Marty, Wendy, Anderson, and Kelly jumped all over the lead we had the other day from you.
Have you
And
heard
so
anything?
we have not heard anything on the mask yet, but, if we can get those in place, we will, because that was Friday afternoon, and they jumped right on it
I
before we
appreciate you
left.
guys
So
doing that.
we'll try to see what we can do there.
Try to get masks for all those people working out.
I know they closed.
Sorry.
Do we have a plan, at least in place, so that when a cafeteria worker is diagnosed, whatever, as far as infected, I assume all the workers in that group probably have to be quarantined or something?
That is all led by the health department. The health department, if they have some,
I understand what I'm saying, well, I understand that we may be not be the ones that decide to quarantine, but do we have something in place that if
and then,
if it happens randomly in the middle, okay, what are we gonna do if we can't do it there, and we now lost these other 8 to 10 employees or something like that? So, and are we paying them, if they have to be quarantined, we pay them to sit at home, to be quarantined?
I'll share that in a thing. But if somebody gets symptoms or anything like that, everything goes to the health department. They do all the chasing of who you've been around and all that. We're really out of that ballgame.
I understand,
Maybe.
but I guess what I'm
I
saying,
think we're talking about two different.
okay, well, I'm saying is if I'm working at one of the schools and I'm diagnosed today, yeah, I'm just talking backup plans all the time, I'm diagnosed today,
Yeah.
well, by the time the health department checks everything out, I mean, certainly we should not have served 2 or 3 more meals at that school. Even though maybe I'm not gonna be there, but 3 or 4 other people are. You understand what I'm saying?
You may have contaminated.
Right.
They have a whole protocol when that first
Okay.
person comes in.
All right, as long as we got something in place.
Yeah, they follow every lead of who people have been around, and they handle the whole thing and start pulling. So there, again, if that was to happen, we could wind up having to shut a site down because we don't have no workers. And we may have to make another decision about where that site would move, if we lose one. But there's going to be some options in place for these people too.
Well, I think Ms. Bird said, it's sort of like us in my job, we have the infection control policy.
Right.
And that's why you want correct me if I'm wrong, if we got one, you know, outside of what the health department does.
Well, I understand we gotta follow that, but, you know, we gotta have
We have
something
something
kind
of
of.
our own that, you
Yeah.
know, this person said they're gonna go get tested, so this person gonna get tested while we doing in the meantime till the 6 employees they were working with before you get their test back in 3 or 4 days.
But that has to.
Well, when they have the symptoms, the health department's already gonna be latching on to them too.
But thing is with this, a lot of people won't show certain symptoms.
I think what they're getting at is we need an internal procedure.
Yeah, that's all, it just, I mean, I know we're gonna follow what the health department says, but
One of the things we're doing every day is those employees dealing with
Can you
food.
all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this is a really delicate issue. The ESC is issuing guidance on this question regularly on, you know, how do you handle someone's private medical information in the workplace, and how do you sort of go through and make sure that nobody has been exposed, and if they have been, that they know about it, without revealing the identity of the person who may have tested positive. And so you can't really develop a set procedure because it's going to depend so heavily on the circumstances, on the tracing that the health department is doing, and what the employee is willing to share. But I do know that they're working hard on this when it comes up. But, there's just not that much that we can do in terms of the standardized protocol, especially because it changes on a near daily basis, what the law is around disclosure of medical information.
I guess what you're thinking, Fred, unfortunately, they're not gonna blame the health department, they're gonna blame us. It seems like that's what
I
probably.
do not wanna have to answer the question, it's gonna say, you mean someone tested positive and for 4 more days y'all served lunch out of there? That's and while we're waiting for the health department, I'm not talking about disclosing who the person is or anything like that, but, if someone tested positive, this school's serving lunch.
Close it down.
Yeah, and
Do you know for sure?
do we, and we know for sure, so we close it down, so the people, internally, I think we can say, you 7 people, you 5 people who are serving with this
Take
person,
the next 3 days off.
you're off, you should, we do not want you serving, I think that should be a internal, decision. We can do that without making it public and all that, so.
I see
Yeah,
what you
you
mean.
can, if you have that information. So it's going to depend, again, on the circumstances of when you get that information, what job they have, who they've been in contact with, when they started developing symptoms, all of those factors. But you certainly can take steps if you know about it, and depending on the situation, what you can disclose.
I'll give you an example. My oldest son, where he works, they sent, someone had a fever and some symptoms. They sent a couple that was working really close to him home till a couple days. They found out for sure he was okay. It wasn't anything like that. Just as precautionary measures. I mean, I think it's happening a lot, just especially now with uncertainty the way times are.
Well, to that point, Mr. Cook, they sent them home, we're sending them to the health department. That's what whenever we have.
Fred's saying if they're sick enough to send them to the health department, maybe those people working around them may ought to take a day off to make sure. Is that what you're saying?
You're saying shut the site down just as precautionary,
Or switch the people out at least.
switch people.
I mean, like you said, if they go get tested, the other ones who were there might be moved before the test comes back. So you can't wait, because some of these tests come back a day, some of them come back 2 days, and some of them 5 days. It depends what labs they're sent to, depending on how fast they come back.
Well, to me, the easy one is if we know someone has tested positive, and we should have something just internally, immediately what should happen there. Immediately, you six that work with them.
Can I clarify one thing? If somebody's awaiting a test, then they get leave, paid leave not to come.
So what we're saying, what,
We want to know about shutting the site down. Could we shut a site down if we have a possible case?
yeah, we can shut the site.
Sorry. I can't hear y'all perfectly.
Would that be something that's legal? If we had a possible case, we shut the site down and stop the feeding site and
Yeah, that would be legal.
Well,
But again, it's gonna depend on the circumstances, right? I mean, and what the health department directs them to do. If somebody just goes in and says, oh yeah, I haven't, and we don't have any other information, that seems a little bit,
Well, I've had 2 employees.
you know, but so that's why we're relying on the health department, I think. But there's, yeah, you can shut a site down or change the location or whatever needs to be done, depending on the circumstances.
is that something you're thinking, Fred, like a policy to shut the site down immediately?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 different things here, obviously. There's the, hey, he went to get tested, or hey, he has been infected, you know, so there's, and originally I was thinking obviously the worst side, come back there and, all right, this person is infected, and we know for sure. Yeah, I would think we would shut the site down, because I do not want to have to answer the question, you mean y'all had someone that was infected there and you still continue to serve, I know they're not there anymore, but you continue to serve food out of that place? I do not want to answer that question to somebody.
It makes a headline story on Fox 8, we don't need it. I don't want it.
Well, we also need to know what the health department protocol is. And I think we're trying to make decisions. And
I can tell you what health department protocol is. Health department protocol is, you come in, they ask you, one of the first things, we've been through this with Susan Hayes, they ask you who your employer is, you're not required to disclose it. They ask you who you've been around. They ask you if they have permission to tell people you've been around, that you have it. If you say no, they do have the right to go and tell them you've been around somebody that has the symptoms. They do have the right to go back to the employer and tell the employer that you've had somebody that had this. But they can only disclose the person if the person on these different steps gives that permission. They're under the HIPAA laws, and we're under the employment confidentiality privacy laws. And we have to be very careful, as does the health department. We work really closely with Susan. We've put several things out. We drummed up a lot of business a couple weeks ago when I sent an email and said, if you've been out of state, you immediately need to go see the health department. We put several things out. But that is the protocol. I reviewed it again Friday morning with Susan Hayes, early Friday morning. But that is how their protocol works. When someone comes in, they ask them these questions. It's kind of if they say yes, we can be specific about the person. If they say no, we can still go to people and they chase everybody this person's been around. So that's one of the things. Now, to your point, Mr. Burgess, if we get any suspicion, do we just shut it down and move it somewhere else? That's something we could consider. I don't see why not. We might be moving feeding sites. You know, you can have a false positive. I don't know that you can, I think if we're going to put that standard in, we need to put it in for suspicion, not confirmation. Because, you know, I don't know how if you wait till the backside, I think you would be, sorry.
Yeah, I think that, you know, there are various guidelines from the CDC and the Department of Health and Human Services that you could use to develop an internal protocol, and I'm happy to work on that. It's just everyone should realize that it changes frequently, so if it's an internal protocol, it would need to change relatively frequently.
And
Well,
that's-
and I think here's your other issue, as things continue to ramp up, I think you're gonna get more and more concerned about, even as Mr. Boyle was mentioned, even working at the site. I think you're gonna see that become more prevalent. I think you'll see, if this continues on and doesn't start subsiding in some way, we may have some trouble manning sites. You know, I see it beginning to, you know, just like our decision not to do the drive-in. I mean, just where are we headed with the other issues? Our decision to close the front offices to the public other than 10 to 1. What was that about? So, you know, I think over the next couple of weeks, if this thing doesn't subside, but if the, you know, I hear your point. Your point is well taken, Ms. Burgess. But I think it probably needs to start with suspicion, not confirmation, because confirmation may be too late.
I agree with that. I think suspicion, exactly, suspicion. And I do think you need to look,
And I don't know that we can move one on the dime. I think we just shut it down, and that's where we are. We shut it down if we have suspicion, because to move and advertise it and all that would be you're not gonna get that.
the reason more to tighten up the sites. That's the reason more to tighten the sites up, guys. It really is.
If you shut it down suspicion, biggest thing is take the employees who were there. I'm thinking of Mike, understand? Because if you have one there who might be, and you got 7 more employees, they can get it from them. Or if you can shut it down, move the employees out, clean the place, and move employees back in. Because hopefully they're disinfecting it real well every day anyway, because, you know,
So I
I
think
mean,
that
you wouldn't have to totally shut it down. All you would have to do is move the employees out who were there and put new ones back in their place. Because my thing is, I'm worried about this one person under suspicion might have infected these other 6 people. There's no reason to do away with the site. You can just move new people into the suspicion of these 10 people come back as a negative.
Claim the site.
Yeah. I mean, like at my wife's work, they said if one person comes in sick, they shut the whole thing down, come in and clean it before they reopen the plant.
Seems like someone told me though, when the cafeteria workers come in, I mean, they probably can't do this. I mean, they have a temperature, you can't do anything like that to check it or anything.
My wife's work every morning, they walk in the door, they check every one of the temperature before they walk through the door.
Do we have,
I know a lot of people's doing that now. I didn't know if that's legal or.
Is that legal, Leslie?
Yeah, I couldn't hear what that last bit was.
temperature? Can we check people for a temperature?
Yes, under these circumstances, we have to be careful about the way that we do it. It's private, but it is allowed.
And this is about the subject, it's a little bit off, Marty, you may answer this. If we did have an infected site, who is qualified to clean it and how would we handle that? We could do that internally, or do we have to hire someone professionally?
I think we can do it internally as long as we've got the right, protective equipment, PPE, and we've got the right chemical to clean,
Okay.
totally disinfect what we're
Okay.
doing, so I think we're good. All right, here, I've just got confirmation, I texted Kelly to ask a question. Back to your point, someone asked about taking temperatures. Yes, we take temperatures of all the employees daily. So we ask them a couple questions. Do you have any of the symptoms? Are you coughing? Are you running a fever? Shortness of breath? And then we take those temperatures every morning.
That's great.
So-
That's
I
great.
mean,
I'm glad to hear
that's
that.
standard CDC protocol for them, I think. Well,
Are they wearing facial masks?
We don't have that,
Not yet.
We're hoping.
we're working on it.
But again, have you heard anything from the state about this?
Well, yeah, Lynn Harvey for child nutrition or school nutrition, she's very active from DPI. I mean, she's very active with the leaders throughout the state. So yes, she's not left them out there.
Dr. Gandy, I think you were to put it out on our social media that our cafeteria workers need face masks, and we can't get access to them. I can guarantee you it happens tomorrow. There are people all around making these things for workers. So that,
you know, cost of furniture went down.
Okay? And if we get those, if we get yours and the other source comes in, that'll be great. If you know a source, please pursue.
I asked that this morning, we were talking earlier about someone making a mask, so we are good with that. This morning, we talked about it, and we just want to make sure we're legally okay to take that kind of mask. That's why we're going to do a company, so if we can take masks, I'm sure, I could have bought you 200 tonight, I was just uncertain if we could use those. So we're good with those.
Yeah.
Plus what the CDC has guidance on, North Carolina.
That was the question.
Health Department has it as well, but cloth masks are fine.
Motion everybody?
Sorry, what was that question?
That's great.
Are we okay if, like, someone in the community that's making the cloth mask, we go that way, or should we wait for like a company that's, I guess, licensing on making masks?
I think the guidance is right now that you don't have to wait for a professional mask, that people can make their own mask, because the idea is to keep the person wearing the mask who may be asymptomatic from spreading. So it's really about keeping their germs inside them.
So if anyone's listening live stream now, we need masks. I don't know how many, but we would certainly appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
So, just to summarize, we're gonna get masks as quick as we can, and if we have suspicion, we're gonna close the site down until we feel like it's completely clean, if we have that situation. Is that what I'm hearing? And continue with our protocol on the front end in the mornings. Anything else on child nutrition? All right, Marty, if you'll tell Todd to come on in. Next thing I want to talk about is employees. Last Monday, we had 3 more options that appeared for employees. 2 of them are new FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act laws. They are separate from what FMLA, the regular FMLA is still out there, but these are 2 types of FMLA that are applied to the COVID-19 crisis. The first one, just to kind of paraphrase, it went into effect April 1, it goes to December 31. And this is 12 weeks of leave when you must care for your son or daughter whose child care is unavailable because of COVID-19. You had to use this kind of leave. You had to be employed at least 30 days with the school system, 30 calendar days. There's a catch. There's a couple catches here. You only get 2/3 your day of pay, 2/3 daily rate of pay, and you'll be capped at $200 per day. So if your daily rate of pay at 2/3 would get you more than $200, they'll only give you $200 per day. And you'll be capped the time period you're doing this 12 weeks, your cap overall will be $10,000. There's another catch to this. The first 2 weeks of this is unpaid. You can do it intermittently, like you could be on it one day, you could work in and out of it, work some days, be out. This is driven by my son or daughter's child care is unavailable due to the COVID-19 crisis. So if I did that, how do I fill in the first 2 weeks? Because I don't know that I'll be as excited about losing the first 10 days. Well, that's the other piece that came in called emergencies paid sick leave. It is from April 1 until December 31. It provides up to 2 weeks, 10 days of paid sick leave. So, and it's not out of your sick leave balance. This is over and on top. So if someone uses this, it's not pulling from their sick leave balance. Now, reasons you could do this one is you're unable to work because you've got a federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation. It is not a state of stay-at-home order by the governor, though, or other quarantine that is not a quarantine order, or any other government. You've been advised, you could get it because you've been advised by a health provider to self-quarantine. There are 6 reasons. You're experiencing symptoms and seeking medical diagnosis, which we were just talking about. you're subject to an order of quarantine or isolation, you've been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine, or you're experiencing symptoms. I really don't know why 4 is there, because those different things are in the first 3, kind of. And again, your son or daughter's child care is not available because of COVID-19, which is what the original emergency family medical leave expansion was. So what you would do, you would put probably the 2 of them together. Get the first 10 days on emergency sick leave, the next 10 weeks on the first FMLA. This is called the Family First legislation. The emergency sick leave, full-time, part-time individuals, the other FMLA does not indicate the difference, so I deduce it's open to both, for full-time and part-time. But that one does say you had to be, the first one said you had to be with us 30 calendar days. All right, if you use reasons 1, 2, or 3, you're capped at $500, $511 a day, or a total of $51.10. And if you use 4, 5, and 6, it's 2/3 pay, capped at $200 and $2,000 a day. Now, I want to go back up. Something Elizabeth keeps saying. Reason number 6, the staff members experiencing substantial similar conditions. It's emergency sick leave. What that really does is gives the federal government to continue to develop reasons that apply to this as times and conditions change. Elizabeth kept saying, this thing is so, some of the rulings and standards are changing so quickly. That's really what that is. It gives the flexibility to the federal government to be able to make these changes. Again, you can use, it's called emergency paid sick leave. You can use it intermittently. To me, this one and the first one are very flexible. I told the principals, if someone has documentation from a doctor, they need to keep it. But you may not have documentation. If you're experiencing COVID symptoms and you're seeking medical diagnosis, you probably haven't gotten to the doctor yet, so you probably don't have anything to show somebody. The third one is state of emergency leave. It's for April 1 through April 30th. And so, you know, the other night, on Friday the 27th, you saw my email with the staff, and I said, we will review what the governor released. We'll give you some more definition explanation on Monday. Well, I was concerned because I saw these 2 started on April 1, or all these started on April 1. I thought, well, what are we going to do for March 30, March 31? Well, state of emergency leave, retroactive is March 31 back to March 16, the first day. So basically what it does, if you go on state of emergency leave, you get 21 days of coverage in April. If you look at our calendar, there are 21 days of work. When you take away the holiday that's on this Friday, there are 21 weekdays. And then it also has a retroactive of 12 days from March 31 back to March 16, which is the first 12 days of closure. So this one's very flexible. Full-time, part-time staff members can use this. Now, item E is very important. School systems are required to provide remote work opportunities to the greatest extent possible. This is not a case where you say, yeah, there's work for me to do, but I'm not doing it. I'm going on leave. Okay? This is a different, I told the principals, the dynamic change. And now, the principals have to say whether you can come to campus or not. We've got work for you and you can come. Or, you can't come and I've got remote work for you. It's not, oh, you've got work on campus and you've told me I can come. Or, you told me there's remote work away from campus, and I get it, but I'm not doing either one. I'm just going to go emergency leave. But what this also does is it takes care of people who can't fit into one of those situations. We've got employees who, they can't take their work home because of the nature of their job, and there's nothing for them to do on campus. So that's where this state of emergency leave kicked in. I will point out something. The calendar law, 115C 84.2, says we have to have 10 annual leave days. So we've been very clear to principals. The 5 annual leave days scheduled for next week are in play. So if somebody has used up annual leave days and do not have any, then they'll be on leave without pay next week. We have to honor the calendar law. The calendar law has not been waived by the legislature. So our last 5 of those 10 minimum required annual leave days are next week. So how can you use this state of emergency leave? You can't work because you have to buy child care or elder care. You're high risk. You're over 65, you have underlying condition, weak immune system. Or here's the kind of the catch-all. You're identified as by state authorities or as being high risk. That's a little flexible. I may not fit in those 2 categories. They may see me in the doctor's office and say, I think you're at risk. I'm going to tell you, you're at risk. I'm going to label you at risk. The questions come up about somebody who may be expecting. They're not listed as at risk, but the doctor may have them in the office and say, well, this person is at risk based on what's going on. But they're not that definition, and Elizabeth and I did research this as I was finalizing this document. We researched to see, could we put someone expecting as high risk, and none of the laws cover that. Symptoms, you've got the other reasons you could use this.
Can I clarify something too about that though?
Mm-hmm.
So a person can come forward and say, I'm high risk, and if they meet the state's current definition of high risk, then they can take this leave. But if their healthcare provider has recommended that they stay home, then they would qualify for other leave. So, a person who has whatever issue that isn't already defined by the state, if their doctor tells them they need to stay home, it's too risky, then they would also qualify.
Yeah. So there's a lot. There's a lot.
Different provisions. So there's just so many different ones. But
There's a
I
lot.
just wanted to make sure that people were aware.
There's a lot of different scenarios here, as Elizabeth's pointing out. You have a dependent you need to care for. You could apply. You could be eligible for this. You've been told to self-quarantine by a healthcare provider. Here's the big one. I've not been authorized to come to work, and I cannot work remotely. We've got positions like that. Well, you're eligible for this, but the staff member's supervisor has that responsibility, and we told the principals that last week. They've got to deal with this at their level. Documentation, again, documentation may be required. And then this is probably the most flexible one as far as state of emergency. It is full pay. The other ones have some caveats on limits. Now, one, you can't come off a pre-approved leave. I was already on regular FMLA, but I like this one better. Because see, at regular FMLA, here's the regular FMLA. I'm going long, and I got 12 weeks. And I might run out of paid leave here, but FMLA runs on out here, and I've got health benefits, but not pay. Oh, I saw a state of emergency, I want to switch to that one. You can't. And from the day one, we received guidance, so we asked the question because we knew as leave options came along, people were going to try to switch out of one leave that might have already been on to get on something that might come up more advantageous. So they cannot do that. Substitute teachers cannot use this. And the staff member cannot choose to work and to not work to stay on this. Hey, your supervisor just said, I've got this work from home stuff you can do, or I need you to come to campus, I've got this stuff, and you say I'm not doing either one. That does not make you eligible for state of emergency leave. With all this, as I told the principals the day this all broke, last Monday night, or Monday afternoon, the scenario's changed, and it's not, and we were encouraged to get people off-site because of what is beginning to ramp up. And so now it's changed of, the first couple weeks, people were choosing to come. Now the only people coming are people who the principal needs to come. I went to several schools Friday. There were people there helping the principals get packaged together. They were coming in different phases. The idea is to keep the number of people on campus as minimal as possible. So this adds to the first 6. The one of the 6 that's probably not as advantageous now is the makeup plan option that we put in place on the 17th, because you start missing, I think at the end of the day, we'll miss somewhere from 33 to 38 days. You can't make that many days up between now and June 30th. That probably has fallen off the table a little bit, but now employees have 9 options. I ended the conversation with the principals the other day with this. I asked them to be flexible, understand creativity, because working from home is involved creativity, but be accountable. Because everybody has the right to these leave options, regardless of what their role is. I sat the leadership team down one day last week. I got Tim and Jackie and Beverly, the other 3 individuals that are under my evaluation responsibility and direct reports, and I said, do not do as I do, do as you need to do personally and how you feel. So don't stay here if you're staying here because you see me in my office. And I'm very sincere about that, and I'm very sincere even back 7 years ago when I just wrote for the makeup plan about, people ask, well, do principals have a right to the makeup plan? Yes, the principals have a right to the makeup plan. Yes, central service does, just like everybody else. So, there's a lot there. I think a lot of people worked through this very well. It's been out there for a week. So 3 more options on the table. Is any option perfect of the 9? No. Do I think that there's an option out there for everybody now? I believe there is. It's better than we were back on the 14th of March and especially on the 15th when the first round of announcements came out of DPI about how to deal with employees. So, but these leaves are not taking leave. These 3 are not taking leave out of people's leave balances. The 10 days on the emergency, whatever it's called, sick leave, emergency sick leave, that does not come out of their balance. The new type of state emergency leave does not come out, nor does the emergency family and medical leave expansion. So we're doing the best we can with it, trying to be upfront with everybody as we work through this. So, any questions about that? Todd, did I mention anything? Did I miss anything on that?
No, but just to clarify on the spring break, that's for 10-month employees, those last 5. So remember, 11-month and 12-month employees, that they can continue to work just like they always have during annual leave days. So the calendar law and the state employee benefit manual speaks directly to 10-month employees. Those are the ones you have to take out the 10 days in the calendar for.
Okay, the last thing I want to share with the update on coronavirus is I want to go back. We did receive last week $633,000, part of the $50 million that Governor Cooper sent out to the schools. My understanding is that money's come from the Read to Achieve camp, so we're not going to have those this year. I don't know what we're going to have them with, but that's where I heard the money came from, but don't, I wondered, I think Todd and I both wondered where that was coming from. We're a Tier 2 system. I did hear a Tier 1 system on a teleconference. I saw a question posted and they got $76,000. So I don't know what the cut was, where it was. Obviously Tier 3 systems are going to receive more than we did. But we've got to be very strategic. There's requirements on what you can and can't spend it on. We have to spend this money by June 30th. As mentioned yesterday, we will be spending it first on the packets, and the principals did a great job with that. I don't think we can do another mailing. Don't think we can. Not sure that that's going to be the avenue to go anyways on May 5th. We'll do something different there. We're going to spend some of the money to cover the extra copying and paper we used the last on both of these mailings. And then we're going to be kind of split between, there's no mystery here. I'm not going to dodge it. We are losing money in school nutrition with what's going on right now. We don't have the local sales, the supplemental a la carte sales. That's one of the things. We are getting reimbursed for food that are meals. We're being reimbursed at a higher rate than summer feeding, than that rate higher than regular rate. But we will have to make some tough decisions on what remains after the mailing, the paper and copies. Then we'll make some tough decisions on where we go to balance out child nutrition and technology. Technology is really, to Mr. Cutler, to your point, you know, we'll get some back. We'll get some back that might not be usable. Hopefully we'll all they'll all come back usable, the Chromebooks. But we'll work in that direction. We also will be watching very intently. If any federal money comes, we're probably more inclined to send the federal money to child nutrition, provided there aren't strings that we can't use it for. That will be aligned. So we're gonna, once we get the paper and the mailing kind of set aside, we're gonna drag our feet a little bit and see what else is coming to make sure we use our money as flexible as possible. We have to have the $633,000 spent by June 30th. We're not gonna give any of it back, I can promise you that. When they call and ask us how much we have left, it will be a zero.
How does that work with the schools as far as the mailing? I mean, I know they got their own budget, each school, and I know, are we covering their entire mailing, or?
We are covering their entire mailing. They were told that from the beginning. Yeah, we didn't budget any money. All we said was, we've already got a bunch of stuff out the first time, workbooks and all, or we hope a lot got out. We're going to take advantage of the technology that we put out. And so we asked them to keep the packets as minimal as they could. We're paying the bill. They'll pay the bill, and Todd will turn around and reimburse them what came out of their account. So they're not paying for any of the postage.
That was my understanding. So the last one, though, we're not sure about the last one.
The fifth, yeah. We don't see how we're going to be doing the mailing. We're probably going to rely a lot on technology that time. A whole lot.
Understanding. That's what that clarified.
Anything else? Todd, do you have anything else you need to add? So that is there any questions about anything we're doing with the, I think we've had some good suggestions come out about some things we can do. In addition, I think we all agree that the child nutrition process as it looks right now, we won't be able to continue to do that the whole time. Multiple reasons: financial, workforce, concern, safety concerns. So we'll be looking at that. Like I said, we get food, safety, instruction, and employee benefits.
I do want to say one thing before you leave, Todd. I can't imagine being in finance, your shoes right now, but thank you, your staff for everything. I'm glad you're a numbers guy. Is this worse or tougher on you than, 7, 8 years ago when the budget sort of crashed?
Yeah, it may be about the same, but in different ways. This one is, you just don't know what's coming the next day. Things have changed so much from the time it started, so, but it's, we'll get through it, and I've got a good staff, and, some of them are.
Thank you guys for everything.
Yeah, some of them, and Dale and Sheena got us set up for technology at home, so some of my staff can do some work at home, so that's been helpful too.
Mr. Chair, I say we take a couple minutes break and extend it 2 hours.
Elizabeth, they want to go to recess, so we just will go recess for a few minutes.
Okay.
Or will we better off letting board
So
members?
you're going to recess or closed session?
No, we're not going to close session. Board members,
Just gonna take a break?
they just want to take a break. Do we need to take a motion on that?
Yes.
I make a motion, we take a 5-minute recess.
Okay?
The motion's made, have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're on break.
Okay, we're in recess right now for
Here.
Our meeting's back in order. Okay, up now is Ms. Perry.
Good evening, Chairman Cook, and members of the Randolph County Board of Education, and Dr. Gainey. Tonight, I'm pleased to present to you as an information item a grant pursued by Marina Bonomo at the media specialist at New Market Elementary School. It is a grant to establish more books in the media center with a particular focus on our military and our armed services. So we are certainly delighted by the effort at New Market Elementary School and also the previous grants that we have brought to you this year. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kat.
Yes.
Todd, make sure you're talking to that mic.
Welcome back, Mr. Wood.
Good evening, board members. Tonight, I would like to present the third quarter financing budget update, and we will be talking about the months of January, February, March 2020. As we normally do, we'll start off with state allotments, and we'll look at RCSS enrollment, the charter school enrollment, current expense budget, capital outlay budget, cash balances, and areas to watch. So as we begin with the state allotments, as of the end of March, the state allotments totaled $104,349,171. That was compared to $102,558,774 at the end of December. So we increased almost $1.8 million in the third quarter for state allotments. Basically, some of the normal program increases and decreases. The NCVPS adjustment happened in the third quarter. We received money for the test results, basically the reading bonuses, the math bonuses, principal bonuses, CTE, AP bonuses. A couple EC program and the headcount transfer occurred in the third quarter. And then we also received our second and final installment on the transportation fund. All in all, about $1.8 million more in state allotments. So I'd like to go inside the state allotments for just a minute and to look at three programs. We typically will look at transportation since it makes up a pretty large portion of our state allotments. So the current transportation allotment is $4,865,340. So if you compare that number to a year ago, $4,506,974. So as of right now, we have $358,366 more than we did a year ago. In that $4.8 million allotment, the fuel component is based on $2.10 a gallon. So a little bit of good news here. You've seen fuel prices at the pump. So back on March 16th, we actually were paying $1.29 a gallon. So we're making a little money right there on the fuel piece.
They can't answer that back, I mean.
Well, they can, but I've had no indication that they
I would hope not, but I was worried
That's
about it.
that's why I was wondering when the prices went down the way it is, and plus with the school being closed.
Probably what'll happen when it goes up, you won't get the right amount next time.
Yeah, there's been no indication of that, but what they've done sometimes from one year to the next, that they've adjusted it in the formula for the following year. So if we have low prices throughout the spring, then I wouldn't be surprised if that price per gallon goes down in the allotment for 2021.
It'll end up being your summer camp money.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
With the current closure, if you think about it, we're saving on fuel, supplies, parts. And I will say this, prior to the closure, the 19-20 cost projections appeared much better than in 18-19. And as you recall, 18-19 we were way underwater with our state transportation budget. So that's a good bit of news. And like I said, that was prior to the school closure. So we're not getting any worse at this point, that's for sure, during the closure. Probably gaining a little bit there. The second program I wanted to look at would be the EC allotment. Currently, it stands at $9,306,567. Compared to a year ago at this time, it was at $9.1 million. So there's a difference of $171,781. That money basically goes towards the increased salaries for 1920 because some teachers needed a raise depending on the bump on the salary schedule. Matching benefits, of course, went up, and contracts possibly the cost of contracts could possibly go up a little bit also. Once again, during the closure, there are some contracts that we are saving some money on due to the, not needing those services in the EC world. So prior to the closure, the cost projections appear slightly over budget. Not terrible, but basically not too far off from where we were last year. And then the last program I wanted to look at in the state budget, the limited English proficiency allotment, $625,709. A year ago, we were at $614,023. So that's only an increase of $11,686. Once again, that $11,000 goes towards salary increases depending on where you were on the teacher schedule, matching benefits. But another bit of good news is the cost projections appear just slightly over budget, but better than 18-19. I want to change gears to our enrollment. So in the third quarter, we did get confirmation, DPI's records. First month, ADM, they locked us in at $15,769. Second month, $15,758. So first month was better for us. They have a formula that brings in a number called the adjusted ADM. So their adjusted ADM for us was 15,628. So that ended up being our target. Of course, our first month was more than that. So no funds would have to be reverted this year. And then internally, we allotted resources on 15,844, only 75 students more than we locked in that first month. So we were pretty close to our target there. One thing I wanted to make note of, you might ask why wouldn't we get more funding if we came in higher than that adjusted ADM? Well, that adjusted ADM works in our favor. In order to get more funding than what we received initially, we have to be higher than what they allotted us on. And so they allotted us on 15,952. So we have to be 100 more than that. And of course we weren't. So, but the good news is no reversion of funds for ADM shortage. All right, the next slide, charter school enrollment. I always like to go back to the end of last year, so that at the end of 18-19, 1,258 Randolph County students were attending 15 charters and 2 virtual charters. Currently, that number is 1,289. Same number of charters and virtual, so that's a difference. That's an increase of 31 students. And URE charter, currently 1,058 Randolph County School District students, which is an increase of 24 over last year. Chatham charter sits at 103, which is the same as last year, same as we ended the year last year. And the virtual charters are 52 between the two, which is an increase of 7 over end of year last year.
Todd, I got a question.
Yes.
On the charter school enrollment, how long have we been doing this? It seems like we're doing all their accounting for them. I mean, aren't they a LEA, and shouldn't they be doing this on their own?
As far as doing what?
As far as the money or keeping up with the students or relying on that information?
Well, they send us a roster each month. Every charter sends us a roster. We verify that those are our addresses, and then we do the calculation to cut the check.
It just seems like we've been doing this for 5 years.
Yeah, but if they don't send us the roster, and I don't want to give them the money, we find kids that they will find kids that aren't our kids on their roster, and we'll say, no, we're not giving you that money. That's somebody else's school system. And 9 times out of 10 is Ashburn City, but if we just went on their record, we might be losing money that we weren't supposed to lose. So.
I get what you're saying. It's just we have to do it.
This is not.
Yeah, I mean, I understand Mr. Culler's saying, I mean, legislation just should make them like a regular LEA and send them the money for their ADM.
Yeah, it's basically just the way the funding's set up.
I mean, it's costing us money to handle their money.
I mean, I guess if you think about this piece of it, it boils down to that they don't go to the commissioners to make a budget request.
And they should.
Okay, current expense budget. Currently, current expense budget, $21,231,808. And you'll see there, I've broken down the revenue piece, the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. And we pretty much stayed right in line there. You see 5 million, 5.5 million, 5.2 million. So as of the end of March, as in the third quarter, 15,802,089, 74.4% of what we budgeted. So we're just right there where we should be at 75%. Then on the expense side, you see the first, second, and third quarter expense numbers, 4.8 million, and then of course the second quarter expense includes the local supplement, that's why it jumps up to 8.4, and then the third quarter was back down at 3.7. So total expense, 17,037,648. Once again, it's over 75% if you look at it like that, but it's mainly because of that second quarter supplement payment coming in at 80.2% of the budget right now. Inside the current expense budget, I wanted to touch on a couple of things, some of the bigger items that we normally look at. The energy budget within inside the current expense budget, $3,398,000, and you look at the first, second, and third quarter expense. It's been pretty consistent, $840,000, $876,000, $842,000. You see the numbers, 24.7% of the budget, 25. So we've been right there at the 25% mark each quarter. So right now, at the end of March, $2,559,269 is what's been spent on energy, which is right there at 75% of the budget. Once again, I think a couple things that will work in our favor right now is, of course, probably spending less energy, and then we've got some mild weather that we're currently in, so that's going to help a little bit. So I think we'll come out pretty good on the energy budget this year.
But if things stayed like they was a normal year, we'd probably be over budget, right?
Maybe not. Maybe not, because we're right at 75%. A lot of it would depend on if how hot it got, how cold it stayed, or how hot it got, basically in the last couple of months. So we were at 75.3. We were right there in line for the most part. So we should come in a little bit better than that now.
I'm sorry, I looked at the water budget.
Oh, you're okay. Yeah. So yeah, say that comment for the water budget. You're right, you're right on that. Yeah, so the first, second, and third quarter expenses, you see 146, 168, 145. So once again, we'll save a little money there with not using that volume of water. Because, currently with the total expense of $459,000, we're a little over where we should be at 78.1%. I got it. Capital outlay budget. $3,115,288 is our budget. You see the first, second, and third quarter revenue numbers. And I'm going to explain the revenue and the expense at the end of the slide. Basically, revenue, $3,045,004. Now, I know this figure looks odd. It's showing that that's 97.7% of our budget. And I'll tell you why in a second, because it works on the expense side also. First, second, third quarter expense, 1.9, 514, 518, 2,989,760. So that's showing 96% of our budget on the expense side. But here's the thing: $488,804 is unbudgeted on both sides, the revenue and the expense, for the Trinity Middle School because of the way that is being reimbursed by the county. So if you want to kind of really see where we're at on our capital outlay budget, compare your 97.7% of your revenue number and your 96% of your expense. So we're right there, right within the budget, spending a little bit less than we brought in. Cash balances. The only change here is because our meeting's a little bit early this month. I did not have end of March bank statements. So I used the end of February. As you can see, 1.9 million in current capital, 356,000, AT tax 1.8, child nutrition 4.7. And once again, those balances, of course, fluctuate throughout the year. And the areas to watch, of course, the big one is the effects on the budget of the school closure. And then in the fourth quarter, we'll keep an eye on our energy and our utilities, transportation, exceptional children. Those are kind of the biggies, especially in the state budget. But I can tell you on the energy, we're looking good there. Transportation is looking a lot better than last year. And EC should be pretty close to breaking even. Any questions on that?
Next we have Marty Trotter.
Good evening, board members. Tonight in your packet, you should see student assignment report for third quarter. Pretty much in line with what we were last year at this time. So our total releases for this year up to this point is 358. Admissions is 318 for a net difference of -45. Last quarter, we were at -51, so we're improving by 6 students between second quarter and third quarter.
Marty, my notes also had, that's almost 108 less than where we were when we started this process, isn't it?
Correct.
We started, first thing I had was 2014, first quarter was -153. So the processes are working in that release and admission processes for student assignment.
Marty, do we have any anticipation of maybe reducing these mobile units other than Randleman High School and Grace Chapel?
Certainly anywhere we can. We have been, looking to see about this past summer. So as things open up, we continue to shift around and certainly send back the police units first. So yeah, that's a goal that we've got every summer.
And I think when I got here, we had 108. 108, we own 67 of the trailers and leased the balance.
Yeah, I mean, 67.
67. Or that's the last ones we've lost some.
Yeah, because I mean, just looking, and you know the reason why, like Franklin, we're at 55%, we have 2 mobile units out there. I'm looking at that right.
Yeah, one of those is a single wide that's cut into 3 sections, and they do a lot of pullouts in that one. And I can't remember what the second one is actually used for, but mainly it's pull-out type classes.
More questions? Thanks, Marty. So, this time I need a motion to approve the consent items.
So,
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We move on to the action items with Dr. Gainey.
Okay, board members have a gift from Lenovo. It was on March 31, Sheena Creech, Director of Digital Teaching and Learning, learned of our receipt of a gift worth $45,900. It will be 100 Chromebooks at $429 per device. And equally important is the $30 per device Google Console Management License. So that total gift was $45,900. And per board policy 8220, since it's over $5,000, I bring it to you tonight as a recommendation for acceptance so we can move forward with accepting these items.
So at this time, I need a motion to approve the school system's acceptance of the gift from Lenova in the amount of $45,900.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on to Todd once again.
Okay, board members. Tonight, we bring to you the superintendent's 2020-2021 proposed budget. And you've read the superintendent's budget message on the first couple pages. And then the third page outlines the current expense request, continuation cost, $551,000, a supplement increase of 0.25%, $335,000, technology, an additional $100,000. So on the current expense side, that totals an increase of $986,000. And on the capital outlay side, an additional $100,000 for the facilities upgrade and the 9-year facility upgrade and repair plan, taking that amount from $850,000 to $950,000. So the total request between current expense and capital outlay would be $1,086,000. Because we went through this in detail at the March work session, I will just leave it open for questions right now for the 2020-2021 proposed budget.
Do you see the things going on now that we weren't expecting to affect anything on the budget request?
Hope not.
The only thing I can see is the technology. I mean, you hate this is going on, but this might be the thing that we get the money we've been asking for the last several years.
I just wonder if it was affecting them. I mean, I'm sure it is expecting everybody and everything. Randy? Any more questions?
Since it's part of the, your amendment to the county commissioners, what's the update on those? Everything still moving along?
We're still on par. We're bringing the name tonight. We're planning on opening August 2021. So they dealt with some rock, but my understanding is the last the rock blasting was over. I was out there a couple weeks ago. They're working to the left where the building is in a big way. So we just need some dry weather, but I don't have any indication that they're, are they behind some days? Yeah, but is any project that big going to be behind some days and get caught up and get ahead? I don't see anything. Just really put it on the back burner.
It's amazing the way the difference already it looks, isn't it? I mean, it's unbelievable. Okay, if there's not any more questions, I need a motion to approve the superintendent's 2020-2021 proposed budget.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Marty Trotter, welcome back.
Thank you. Okay, board members, in your packet, the next item is the 2020-2021 opening and closing times for all of our schools. I'll just highlight the schools that have changes. Everything that's not highlighted in yellow is what they currently are. Just to point out the 3 elementary schools, at some point when we asked for end times, they were confused. These 3 schools apparently had a warning bell, which was 5 minutes before the end of the day, but their actual end of the day is 2:45. So we're cleaning that up for those 3 elementary schools. Down in the middle schools, there's 2 there that you'll notice changes. Let me back up. The number outside of the parentheses is what it's going to. The number inside the parentheses is what it currently is. So that's, I'm showing you the current, or the new and the current, in all of these situations, these 5 schools. So down at Southeast, they're looking at starting school at 7:40. They were previously at 7:50 and ending at 3:15, and previously ending at 2:55. That is a desire to increase instructional time at that school. There's been a lot of discussion with stakeholders there and the principal, and leadership team, school improvement team, and they would like to be able to add some instructional time at Southeastern Randolph Middle. The last one there is Uwharrie Ridge 612. That schedule helps better align with the RCC schedule, since you've got a lot of your high schoolers taking RCC classes, so those times really coordinate better with RCC. And Ms. Berry's in the back if there's additional questions on those two, but that's sort of a general idea why we're looking at adjusting those two schedules.
Artie, is it a big issue? I mean, I know it won't be, but maybe a couple more years, one more year. But the 5 minutes between Braxton and Trinity, does that seem to be enough starting time, or works out okay?
You're talking about the Braxton and Trinity High School?
Yes.
Right now, I mean, there's a small window of time that is crowded, but we'll adjust that when the new school opens up a little bit.
Okay, I was thinking we'd probably have to change it then.
Right.
Okay, any more questions on that? At this time, I need a motion to approve the bail schedule changes for the 2020-2021 school year.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, let me apologize. I got my packet out of order, so I jumped on the bail schedule first instead of renaming. So let's back up. The renaming of Archdale Trinity Middle School. Last month in our work session, I brought to you some information and a name recommended by the committee. So tonight we want you to formally look at that, and just a reminder that the committee met on February the 27th. That meeting up at Archdale Trinity Middle School in the Media Center, and we had real good participation in that. Prior to that meeting, we had a survey online. We had 99 individuals submit names for 38 different suggestions, and the number one suggestion that came out of that meeting was Wheatmore Middle School. Again, the committee reviewed all those names. We discussed each name at length that was submitted. Obviously, there was some, if you remember the list that we shared last time, there was some that we could mark off fairly easy. But there was some near the top there that we had quite a bit of discussion about. But the group kept coming back to Wheatmore Middle School. If you recall, when we named the new middle school up in that area that feeds into Trinity, they wanted a simple name, and they wanted it to be a clean feed into Trinity High School. And so that committee developed or came up with the name of Trinity Middle. And so this committee felt very strongly again that since this middle school was feeding into Wheatmore High School, that this middle school should be renamed to Wheatmore Middle School. And this name would not become effective until July 1st, 2021, and that would be coinciding with the opening date of the new Trinity Middle School.
Okay, everybody good with that name? Biggs, you good with that name?
I think they all need their individual, they need school pride, and that's been a big issue at Archdale Trinity the whole time, is people don't have school identity, they don't have school pride, because they're Bulldogs all their life, or they're Total Warriors, and now they're going to be individual and have school pride wherever they go.
I think that's
Something's needed a long time, and that's something when I came to the board, and I was very surprised and very happily surprised when I came here that everyone knew that there needed to be 2 middle schools in Archdale Trinity area.
It's make a lot of people happy when that happens. And I guess maybe during the summer, before the new middle school opens, we'll have to put some fresh paint.
That's correct.
Blue will turn red.
That's right. As soon as the students leave in June of 2021, we will get in there and repaint that school. So it'll be ready for the new school colors at that point.
All right, good deal. At this time, I need a motion to approve the new name for the Archdale Trinity Middle School to be Wheatmore Middle School, effective starting in the 2021-2022 school year.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I move that the Randolph County Board of Education will enter into closed session pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute to preserve the attorney-client privilege to discuss confidential personnel matters protected by the North Carolina General Statute.
We have a motion for closed session. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We're now in closed session.
be good. We'll make her come back up.
There's a delay. Okay, now you're good.
Okay, at this time, I need a motion to approve the certified personnel report.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? At this time, I need a motion to approve the classified personnel report.
Move.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
All right, second.
I'll take
Okay.
a second.
Thank you all. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We now adjourn. Thank you.
Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye, thanks everybody, don't stay